We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
All right. I guess this came from our comments. So it's a lazboy74, I guess, is what we're going with here. So he says he and his wife sit roughly 3 feet from the back wall. We've mentioned that sitting close to the back wall can make dialogue more difficult to understand and degrade the sound quality overall. Is 3 feet enough space to overcome this, or would it help to add some absorption on the back wall? Now, before we answer, he also wants to mention that their seats are high-back leather recliners. So are those more to blame than being 3 feet from the back wall? His speakers are Ascend CR2s, and they sit about 12 feet away. He says he's got old ears, so dialogue is getting tougher to understand, and it's their biggest concern. What can be done to improve the dialogue intelligibility in their 3.1 setup? He makes a good point. High-back leather recliners can be, the leather itself can be somewhat reflective.
Yeah, it's like having a surface right behind your head.
So the first thing I would do to test this out is to take a nice plush throw blanket or pillow. Pillow works. I've got a couple of. My wife is always. She turns the AC down to negative 200 degrees Celsius, and then wraps herself up or in a blanket. I'm like, okay, you could just not turn it down so low. Nope. She wants the blanket. So I got blankets all over the place. Throw a blanket behind your head, or a pillow, and just see if that clears things up for you at all. If it does, well, then you know that your high back recliners are making a bit of a problem for you.
Yeah. Yeah, the 3 feet of space behind you, if it's just a hard, flat, parallel wall with nothing to break it up, it's certainly better to be 3 feet away than no feet away.
That's true, but it doesn't mean that 3 feet is going to negate the slap echo that you're going to get off that back wall anyway, so you would want to put some absorption back there.
Yeah, it's rarely a bad idea to have some absorption behind the seats.
Even with your high chairs.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be a bad idea at all. If you want something decorative back there instead, there are acoustic panels that have printed patterns on them, or you can have any image that you want printed onto the fabric of an acoustic panel. Make it very attractive. It looks like artwork that's meant to be there on your back. Lots of people put some kind of artwork behind their couch, right? That's a very common thing to do. So, you can kill two birds with one stone. You can have a nice image printed on a panel. So that could be one way to do that. However, I think that might help a little bit. I think if you put the blanket behind and you discover that your high back chair is part of the problem, that will help a little bit. Yeah. But once the issue is just age-related hearing loss, which is completely normal and everybody goes through it, and I'm certainly familiar with it, my dad especially, it's the same thing. It's that dialogue. He can tell somebody's talking, he just has trouble understanding what they're saying. Right. And it's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. So the good news is you got very, very clear speakers. They're not going to be to blame just directly from the sound that's coming out of them. I'm sure that was one of the reasons why you chose it. You're not sitting so far away that they should be struggling or anything like that. The issue tends to be what most people who start having that age-related hearing loss, they start to find that if there's just somebody talking, so you're watching a TV show and there's only somebody talking, it's okay. It's when there's background music that comes in, especially some of the more resonant around 150 to 300 hertz type of range. That tends to really make it difficult to, somebody's talking, but it's hard to understand what they're saying. So one thing you could try, I'm not certain what AV receiver you have, but most of them do offer some kind of manual EQ adjustment. If you happen to have one of the newest Denon or Marantz AV receivers that lets you use the Odyssey Editor app, and that's only going to be the ones from 2016 and 2017, so it have to be a very recent model. But that would be one way that you could manually, actually drop down the frequency response from 300 hertz on down, and then maybe boost the range from about 1 to 3 kilohertz, because that's where all the consonant sounds live in speech. So there's nothing wrong with tailoring the sound away from what is, completely neutral, this is objectively accurate, when you're trying to counteract age-related hearing loss. It's much more important for you to be able to understand what people are saying than to say, look, I have a ruler flat graph when I measure it. Like, who cares if it's not enjoyable, right?
Exactly. And my parents are sort of in the same boat where they are...
We're all going to be, man. It's just it's what happens.
And to them, and for whatever, they've got some speakers, they're decent little speakers. They're placed horribly. They're on the ground. The tweeters are about, I don't know, 1.5 feet off the ground, firing directly into your shins. They're not angled up or anything, and their room is highly reflective. It's got tile floors, almost nothing on the walls. The only thing in there that's absorptive of it all is the little coffee tables that roll around and the couch itself. Everything else is just highly reflective, and they don't really understand anything that's happening on the TV. So it's they just put subtitles on all the time,
right?
All the time.
Right.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, whatever AV receiver you're using, most of them do offer some manual EQ. So I would start by, most of them give you, set frequencies where you can either boost or cut.
Right.
So there's going to be something around 300 hertz, something close to that. Drop that down by a few dB, maybe 4 or 5 dB, lower that part of the manual EQ. And then in the range that's, usually there's one right around 2 or 2.5 kilohertz or so.
Yeah.
Raise that up about 4 or 5 dB. That can help quite a bit. It's surprising how much just that adjustment can help. So that's easily worth a try. It doesn't cost you anything, right? So
right.
At least give it a try.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.